This is a free sample of the book Making Women Want You by Cairo Copeland. The first half of this book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/women. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/women.
Chapter 3. Outdated Software. The reality that most guys live out is a sad one, where they live alone, afraid to talk to the pretty girls they sneak stares at, socially isolated, and without much recognition of their basic humanity from others. The only pleasures they get to experience come from video games, porn, and sports ball. If you do nothing about your woman problems, and do not learn the craft of allure, this life of loneliness is guaranteed. This book, however, serves as a countermeasure to that. The point of this writing is to accelerate your learning of the craft so as to shave off years of painful frustration and loneliness from your life. What makes this learning so difficult is that all the lessons you will absorb feel contrary to your nature. They feel that way because in large part they are contrary. The biological hardware you are working with today, along with the accompanying software inside, were beneficial for you back in the caveman days, but they are incredibly outdated and useless for today. Let's examine your biological hardwiring. It begins with why you crave a beautiful woman in the first place. Nature programmed into you this craving as a biological imperative so the human race would continue in perpetuity. Without the intense craving you feel for women, the species would have failed. Thus, getting with a woman and having sex with her was crucial to your survival. That angst you feel to accomplish it is referred to as your reproductive problem. It is the desperate need your body and mind feels to reproduce with a woman, or at least commit the acts with her that lead to reproduction. Reproducing is interpreted by the primitive mind as survival behavior. If you do not do it, a part of you on the inside feels like it is dying. If you do nothing to solve your reproductive problem, nature will solve it for you by eliminating your genes from existence. Hence, the angst you feel. While that, combined with pure lust for women's bodies, should feel motivating enough, there are elements of your biology that get in the way and fuck things up for you. A great way to put it is, you are like the T-101 robot from the Terminator movies. While a very sophisticated piece of technology, it is grossly obsolete compared to others like the T-1000 and the TX. Your biology is amazing, but very out of date with today's world. Nature allowed you to evolve, but not for the world you currently live in. This world, with all its wonders and luxuries, has never existed before. Life, originally, was never meant to be luxurious. In fact, for the better part of human history, life really sucked. You think it's hard now? You haven't seen shit. The hunter-gatherer and agricultural ages sucked. You woke up at the crack of dawn, got right to work, and stayed working until dark, only to do it all over again the next day. Only recently have we had the ability to make it fun. In the time that your biology was created by early evolution, the world population was very small. Thus, connections with others were incredibly important for your survival. The scarcity mindset and treating the few sexually available women around as treasure made sense. In those early days, you rolled with a small pack of other humans, likely around 30 or so. Maybe half would be women, so 15. 1/3 of them would be too old, and 1/3 would be too young. So only 5 were your age. 2 of them were probably already taken. So 3 is all you had a hope in hell of reproducing with. It makes sense now why males adopted and self-defeating beliefs like scarcity mindsets and one-itis, when remembering that our minds learned these behaviors in a time of scarce population. Evolution had no clue that the population would explode to 7 billion people like we have today. Thus, it was unable to prepare you for it. Soon, the world will have a population of 10 billion, making us even more unprepared for the world we will inhabit. You can see the unpreparedness everywhere with how socially awkward everyone seems to be. How is it possible that we are so unprepared for the world we live in? The population doesn't grow in a linear fashion. It grows exponentially. In the 1950s, there were only 1 billion people alive. 10,000 years ago, there were only 30 million people. To see how different the world today is compared to the world you were made for, look at how different life in a small town is compared to life in a big city. The apprehension you feel about rejection, and certainly the fear of it, comes from this. If a caveman was rejected by a woman he propositioned, other women in the tribe would see, and that would lower his value in their eyes. He'd have an even more difficult time getting with any of them than he would have had he just stayed put. Also, in the before time, there was the chance that the woman he propositioned was already taken. This presented a risk to the approaching male, as her pre-existing mate was definitely bound to guard her. Mate guarding developed in this time as well, and was conducted with great intensity for the same reasons of scarcity. Thus, the approaching, prospecting male could have been killed for his approach. In today's world, you may not be in risk of physical harm when approaching women, but your mind and emotions don't know that. They keep trying to do what's best for you. This is where we must remind ourselves that our emotions are nothing magical. They are only chemical. Further, most approach anxiety you will feel comes from the imagination of rejections. Rarely does it ever come from experiencing real ones. As someone who's been rejected too many times to count, it's never deterred me from future tries. Even the most timid of all my coaching clients were never permanently destroyed by a rejection. What must be understood and accepted is that one of the main reasons why rejections even occur comes from the same place as to why you fear them. While evolution has programmed you to be afraid of them, that same evolution has also programmed women to dish them out like a reflex. In our primitive past, a woman's survival was at stake over what man she ended up with. If he were weak in any way, or subpar, it could mean the end of her life. She needed a strong man worth his salt to rely on when she would bear his children. If he could not provide for her with his hunting ability and defend her with his strength, then he was simply not good enough for her. The average male all throughout human history has often been incapable of meeting this requirement, which is why most males in said history did not get the privilege of reproducing. If she were to carry a man's offspring, she would be fully dependent on that man. If he weren't worth a shit, she'd be fucked. When it came to the act of sex, her investment in the act was far greater than his. The price tag it came with, that she had to pay, was also far greater. For the consequences of sex was 10 minutes of pleasure for him, but 9 months of pregnancy for her. While women do not need to depend on a man's provisioning for her survival, and even while we have birth control to prevent unwanted pregnancies, this early evolutionary programming still controls women's responses to sexual offers from males. Reminders of the risks involved arise in the form of last-minute resistance. It is a pre-programmed emotional response where her emotions are attempting to do what's best for her. This last-minute resistance is not a shield she willfully hides behind and desperately wields to repel you. Rather, it is a hurdle she hopes you'll help her overcome. It's not the same as an immediate rejection and all other resistance in general. When a woman gives you initial resistance or an immediate no, well, that really does mean no. Last-minute resistance is more like an I'm not sure after she's already said yes. Here is all the encouragement you need to overcome your outdated programming and hers as well. You're going to die soon. So will she. Even if you live to 100, that's only 36,500 days. Why are you pissing those days away, fantasizing about one day having a hot girlfriend instead of going out there to get one? Just one of those days wasted is a major loss that cannot be made up. There will be plenty of time to fantasize and wonder what it's like to be with a beautiful woman when you're dead. But while you're alive, there is no time to lose because it is ticking away. Her time is also ticking away, and she has a lot less of it than you. Her hopes and chances of finding a man worth a shit all ride on her feminine youth and beauty. Once those things fade away, she will have far fewer men to choose from, and many of those guys will be suboptimal and lower value. It would be a tremendous disservice to this woman if you are a high-value man but hide that fact from her because you are too afraid of her rejecting you to talk to her and see if there's any spark between you. Summary: your operating system for your thinking and behaviors is outdated. It made sense to have a scarcity mindset and fear rejection in the caveman days. It makes no sense now. You were not prepared for the population explosion, but that increase in people alive serves you well and is a great advantage for you. Women's outdated software is also what encourages them to reject you, so the rejections are not really about you. They are merely a reflex of theirs. The same is true of their last-minute resistance. You are going to die, so you have very little time on Earth to enjoy women. She is going to die, and she is going to get old and unappealing. So, she has even less time on Earth than you to enjoy a man. Because time is scarce, you need to go make things happen and stop being afraid of rejection and other outdated concerns.
Thank you for listening to this free sample of the book, Making Women Want You, by Cairo Copeland. If you enjoyed it and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/women. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/women.